Alright, so here we are on lesson 22, solving equations using algebra. So we're doing just some more word problem examples, more pictures, and more writing equations to solve these problems. So in example 1, it says Yoshiro has a new puppy. She decides to create an enclosure for her puppy in her backyard. The enclosure is in the shape of a hexagon, which we should know is a six-sided polygon, with one pair of opposite sides running the same distance along the length of two parallel flower beds. There are two boundaries at one end of the flower beds that are 10 feet and 12 feet respectively, and at the other end the two boundaries are 15 feet and 20 feet respectively. If the perimeter of the enclosure is 137 feet, what is the length of each side that runs along the flower bed? Alright, so first we need to draw a picture. So we're drawing a hexagon. 6 sides. Not very good at drawing these, but that's okay. Alright, so I've got 6 sides. And then they told us that there are two boundaries at one end of the flower beds that are 10 and 12 feet respectively. So I'm going to put 10 and 12 on these sides. And then at the other end, the other two boundaries are 15 and 20 feet. And we're looking for these last two, so I'm going to call them X. And we know that the entire perimeter is 137, so I'm just going to put that in the middle for now. So now we know to find the perimeter, we add up all the sides. So I'm just going to go right around and I'll write it down here. So we have 10 plus 12 plus X plus 20 plus 15 plus another X, and we all know that this all equals 137. So now we can combine some like terms. So first I know I'll have two x's here. And now I need to add all the other numbers. So I have 10 plus 12 gives me 22. Plus another 20 gives me 42. Plus another 15 gives me plus 57. This still equals 137. Now I'm going to subtract 57 from both sides. So I have 2x equals 80. Now I need to divide by 2 on both sides. So I get that x equals 40. So to answer the question, what is the length of each side that runs along the flower bed, we can say, put it in a different color, the length of each side is 40, and it's feet based off of what they told us. So that's the answer. Alright, number 2 here is about swim practice. So it says Jenny is on the local swim team for the summer and has swim practice 4 days per week. The schedule is the same each day. The team swims in the morning and then again for 2 hours in the evening. If she swims 12 hours per week, how long does she swim each morning? So again, I always like to label what we're looking at. So we're going to have, first of all, we're going to have 4 boxes because it's 4 days of the week. So kind of like what we did in the last video. And now let's label the things we know. So morning, we do not know how long the morning practices are. So I'm going to call those M. And then there's evening practice. And we do know how long those are. We know that those are 2 hours every day. So for every day, we know she practices in the morning, so every day gets an M in their box. And then we know plus another 2 hours every day in the evening, so plus 2. And we know that this total was 12 hours for 1 week. So now we look at our picture here, and we see that we have 4 M plus 2's. So our equation would be 4 times the quantity M plus 2. And this equals 12, so now I distribute, so I have 4m plus 8 equals 12. I subtract 8 from both sides, so then I have 4m equals 4, and then I divide by 4, so I have m equals 1. So to answer the question, we can say that Jenny swims 1 hour every morning. Alright, and that is the answer for this one. So go ahead and flip on over to the next page, sorry. Alright, so for these first few it says to solve each equation algebraically, and then over to the side I'm going to add justify with words. So we're going to do a little more here. So first here we see that we have to subtract 4 from both sides, so we subtract 4. So we get 5x equals 15. So when we justify with words, our first step we say that we subtract 4 on both sides. And you need to say on both sides because that shows that we're canceling. Now if we look back over here, we see that we need to divide by 5, divide by 5. So we know that x here would be 3. So our second step here would be just to divide by 5 on both sides. Alright, and then that's it for that one. So now if we look at number 2 here, if we're looking here first, we're going to subtract 14 from both sides. So we get 15x equals 5. So our first step here was to subtract 14 on both sides. And then here we're just going to divide by 15, divide by 15. So x, when we simplify here, we would get x equals 1/3. So our second step here was to divide by 15 on both sides. Alright, so that's it for those two. Number 3 here says Claire's mom found a very good price on a large computer monitor. She paid $325 for a monitor that was only $65 more than half the original price. So they're asking us for the original price. So off to the side, I'm going to call my original price, which I don't know, X. Okay, so we've got a lot of keywords here. So first we need to see that 65 more than means we're going to have to kind of do some switching. But first we're going to look at this half of the original price. So we know that the original price is going to be X, and we're going to divide it in 2 because it's half of that. And then it was $65 more than, so we're going to add 65 then. And we know that this all equals 325 because that's what she paid. So now we're just going to solve the equation. So we subtract 65 from both sides. So we get x over 2 equals 260. Now here we need to multiply by 2 on both sides. So when we multiply by 2, we get x equals 520. So we can say that the original price was $520. Alright, and don't worry about writing into number 4. We're going to skip it anyways because we already know how to do that. So we're going to skip down to number 5. It's the last one we're going to do all together. It says, Ben's family left for vacation after his dad came home from work on Friday. The entire trip was 600 miles. Dad was very tired after working a long day and decided to stop and spend the night in a hotel after 4 hours of driving. The next morning, Dad drove the remainder of the trip. If the average speed of the car was 60 miles per hour, what was the remaining time left to drive on the second part of the trip? It says, remember, distance equals rate multiplied by time. So that whole equation there, remember, is d equals rt. Our distance is distance, how far, and then we have rate and we have time. So we know that the distance was 600 miles. So we can put 600 in for d, equals the rate was 60 miles per hour, so that's the rate, times just t because we don't know how long it took them. So when we solve for t here, that means we're going to divide by 60. divide by 60, so we get that 10 was t. So we know that the entire trip took 10 hours. So if he drove 4 hours the first day, we're going to do 10 minus 4 to find out that the remainder was 6. So to answer the question, we would say that he drove 6 hours on the second part of the trip. Alright, and that is all. So make sure you bring any questions you have tomorrow to class, and then we will do some more practice all together.